इतना सा फर्क है कुछ होने में और बहुत कुछ होने में। इतना सा फर्क है एक बार सोच के छोड़ देने में और लग के कर दिखाने में। मान लेने में कि जिंदगी ऐसे ही कटेगी और सुबह 4 बजे उठ के सोचने में कि अभी तो बस शुरुआत है। किसी मैगजीन को हाथ में लेने में और उसी मैगजीन के कवर पेज पे होने में इतना सा ही तो फर्क है। वीआईपी सीट में और उसकी पिछली सीट में इतना सा ही तो फर्क है। वो जिसका मैदान ही खुला आसमान है वही कल जमीन पर तो था। पूछोगे तो बताएगा वो पंछी कि एक दायरे में सिमटने में और पूरी दुनिया को दायरा बनाने में बस इतना सा फर्क है। इतना कितना है? इतना है या इतना है? जो नापेगा वो जाने कि जहां धरती और आसमान मिलते हैं, नानकुर से दूर, अगर मगर शायद से दूर, वहां भी दोनों में फर्क बस इतना सा है। धरती और 7वें आसमान में फर्क बस इतना सा है। ये एक अंतर प्रेरणा है। ये हमारी, आपकी, हम सब की अंतर प्रेरणा है। एक कदम, एक छलांग, एक बाजी, एक गहरी सांस और एक ललकार खुली हवाओं में कि हाँ मैं बना हूं उन फिजाओं के लिए, कि हाँ मैं बना हूं उन ऊंचाइयों के लिए जो ऊंची तो बहुत है पर नामुमकिन भी नहीं, क्योंकि मुमकिन और नामुमकिन में बस इतना सा फर्क है। धूप छांव में फर्क बस इतना सा है। तो बस चलिए फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया के साथ ये फर्क मिटा देते हैं। फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया, 20 years of ideas.
Good afternoon, one and all. Thank you all the participants for joining us today. We welcome you to 129th episode of Business Opportunity Chai webinar series. It's a unique platform, and today we will try to give you a brand for the day. This is a 45-minute session where we will try to explain the business opportunity our brand is presenting to each one of you. This particular webinar is hosted by management team of Franchise India, Mr. Gaurav Maria and Sonia Chaudhary. During the course of action, they'll be talking about business. They'll be sharing their thought processes, feedback, and suggestions. And today we are presenting you brand Book Events. It's a leading network of trusted venue, and we welcome both the founders, Ms. Shruti and Mr. Harsh, to talk about their brand. Book Events is already present in 19 countries. They enjoy 60 flagship venues. They enjoy the legacy of 8 years, and they have a database of 6 lakh happy customers. Thank you so much, Shruti and Harsh, for joining us today. We are really excited to see the kind of the business opportunity you are presenting to us. But before we formally invite you for presentation, we would like to play a small video on Book Events. Thank you so much, Dheeraj. So over to you, Shruti and Harsh. We are
Thank
ready
you.
for
Thank you, Archana, for the nice introduction. I think I'm going to just share my screen now with the presentation.
Sure.
So hi everybody, it's a pleasure to be associated with Franchise India, and I think it's been 8 years since we are running this business. We've realized that what exactly needs to be done in a banqueting space, which is a very fragmented market to do. We have kind of now done enough proof of concept, growth stage and everything, and we thought it's a good time to now associate with Franchise India to build and grow our business further onboarding a lot of franchisee partners across the country and then the globe. So very quickly, Book Events, we started in 2013. Um, so briefly about me and Harsh, so both of us carry engineering and an MBA degree from good premier B schools in the country and abroad. We carry a good exposure on both marketing, tech, and sales side, and that's where this idea kind of initiated to us that why not, I mean, we were always a part of the event space, so we were thinking why not build up something which is going to be making this segment, which is so fragmented, more standard, better and easy and convenient for the customers to kind of have their events. And that's how the Book Events came into existence. So so the platform primarily is something that we have from last 8 years. It carries a great traction. It's present in 19 countries. Over 8 lakh customers who have kind of inquired with us till date, and at 20,000 venues which are listed on the platform from across 256 cities. So the main idea on the platform is typically that the customers who are looking to book any kind of event, be it a wedding or a corporate or a birthday event, they would come and figure out which is the right venue for them to hold their event. And eventually, with reviews of other people, with photographs, 360-degree view, and a lot of more details on the website, the customer gets to do this entire process of shortlisting online our platform without really physically going to the venues. So that's something that we have kind of built over on our platform. 2017 is when we really thought over that now that we have kind of run the platform and the event business for a while, there were standalone banquets which were not really standard, and they would be like community halls. They would be only doing events very locally, and not really other community kind of business, so, and no corporate. So that's where we said that let's take up these standalone banquets and standalone hotel banquets also into our managed flagship category, and run those banquets ourselves with a proper service standards, and proper sales and marketing for that banquet. So Book Events flagship venue is a brand of venue that we have, and these are venues which are completely managed by us. So what exactly we do at a flagship venue? So primarily we have our entire customer facing is done by our people. So right from inquiry to meeting the customer, showing the venue, to closure, and to at the event coordination for the customer is done by our sales manager. So the customer is typically meeting up a very professional sales manager instead of a lala or a owner at the venue, right? So while our manager is at the venue, our platform generates leads for this venue, and the venue manager has a dashboard through which he can actually see all the inquiries and interested customers which are for its particular venue. So that's how we, the venue manager comes in between. The venue owner is just responsible for the operations at the banquet, and sales and marketing is completely handled by Book Events people. So broadly, our revenue model in this thing is that we charge a percentage of the overall revenue that a banquet makes. So typically, on an average, to give you an idea, a banquet would make anywhere like a 2 to 3 crore of revenue in a year, and our take would be 7 to 8% from that. So that's how our revenue, the overall revenue and the margin revenue for us is. So just to give you an idea, why would these venues actually join Book Events flagship? So I'll give you an example. I'm sure you would have all gone to a standalone banquet and marriage hall. So these banquet halls are run by like a particular person from a particular community. So let's say I am a Marwadi Jain and I'm running a banquet. That banquet will be typically marketed well in my community, and maybe over 8-10 years it will kind of gather traction. But because I am going to be sitting personally, or maybe I'll have one of my staff, I will be not able to really cater to a Muslim crowd or to a Christian crowd, right? So the banquets have like one of, so they are biggest infrastructure real estate cost, and they have very low occupancy. So a banquet typically does like a 40 to 45 events in a year, where they have potential to do 365 days into 2 slots. So almost like 720 events that they can do in a year, but they are actually doing only 40 events. So with book events coming into existence, what we've seen is that we have done more proper branding at the venue, which kind of increases the perceived value of the venue. It kind of gets biggest difference that we feel is it kind of gets trust among corporates. So corporates which always do their events in a hotel category where they're aware of the standard, we have seen that with us coming into picture, we have kind of moved from 0% corporate business to at least a 25% corporate business at our banquets. So, and this corporate business is purely at an off-peak time, which is, your seasons when weddings are not happening, or lunch time when mostly all social functions are the dinner time. So this is an additional business that we can kind of generate to the venue. Second, we also bring in a complete community. So our managers are professional managers and not really a community kind of focus that they would have. They are trained on customs and traditions of all different communities, and that's where we are able to cater to all religions, all communities for events that happen. And just to give an idea, so there are a lot of religions like Christians, Parsis, Muslims, who really don't have a Muhurat date concept, and their events happen round the year. So by just catering to the entire set communities, we are again able to bring the increased utilization for these banquets. And third, and the most important thing, is the technological assistance that we provide. So we have a venue management software, which our managers sitting at the venue uses. And when he uses this, we're able to track a lot of things in terms of which leads, which inquiries are more, something which are more interested, follow up on proper times. See, if a manager can kind of evaluate if there is lacks from the venue manager in terms of handling the customers and closures and all of that. So technology is helping improve the conversions of the inquiries that are coming at the venue. So yeah, so that's primarily why a venue owner would want to join. And if I have to say, at the same time, it's also very good for customers. So like I said, corporates have got that trust with us as a banquet, and we've seen a lot of corporate events having now focusing on banquets, which are owned by us and managed by us. The customer gets an end-to-end experience with us, because right from start, so I'll tell you, typically if it's a banquet, right, you would go and meet up either the guard or a manager out there who would not really have the final authority, who will actually get you understand that if how closely you are interested in the property, and then he will get you to meet the owner. You will then end up negotiating with the owner, and it's a long process, it's a tedious process to kind of explain your requirement, negotiate and all of that. So with our case, we have a venue manager who's sitting, who is complete authority of the pricing. We typically would not give a huge array of negotiation, and we'll give the kind of best price in a quicker span of time to the customer. Also on the event day, so while the venue owner is going to manage the operation, we will have an event checklist for the venue owner to kind of check from our side that if everything at the venue is proper and ready for the event. So that kind of gives the customer an end-to-end experience. We also guarantee the price in a way that it's a value for money proposition. So like I said, perceived value of the banquet gets increased by the way it is branded and the way customer service is at the banquet. So we kind of increase that value also, but at the same time, the customers would get a better price bargain at our properties, because the same property which used to sell for 40 events in a year is now going to be selling for 70, 80 events in a year. So typically the rent remains same for the owner, whatever extra that they are getting, we are able to kind of get that discounting for the customer with increased economies of scale. And the last thing is that when a customer kind of books at our venue, he gets a one-stop solution. So our venue manager is going to help him with all other services, which is maybe, let's say, a photography or a dhol or a mehndi artist, whatever the customer needs at the venue. So we'll have a trusted list of vendors with which we can help the customer. And moreover, the customer is also going to get a bouquet of offers that we have partnered with from brands like Flipkart, Oyo, Fab Hotels, different things which they will need for their wedding, for the offer. So they will get offers from all these brands which they can help in their wedding purpose or corporate event purpose also during the event. So that's the value for the customer. So it's a twofold benefit. Both the venue owner and the customer is kind of getting benefit with Book Events coming into existence as a brand. So our journey so far, so broadly, now that we've established the business model, we've realized what value we have to, in last 3 years, we've kind of increased from 0 flagships to 60 flagship venues, which are run under our brand name. All these venues are in Bombay right now, and we are looking to expand to other cities with flagship venues. On these 60 venues, we're doing roughly 350 events monthly and an 8 crore of revenue to these banquets on a monthly basis. So it's good business that we've seen. We've on an average seen a 30% increase in business for every venue that we have kind of onboarded in this time. We've seen some venues having increase of up to 80% as well. Good thing is we've seen that we have almost 90% renewal rate on the flagships when once onboarded. So year on year, there is a renewal with the venues, and we see 90% renewal rate there. We also have seen that the owners who were actually having only one property when they started with us, they're now having 4 to 5 properties, because the biggest thing is that owners are all, banquet owners are either real estate people or caterers and investors. They're people with big fat money, right? But their biggest challenge is how to get sales at a banquet. And once they have seen that they have a partner like Book Events, which can bring regular sales to them, they have got that confidence, and they have been able to increase from 1 venue to 5 venues in a span of 2 years time. Also, we have, like, in the last 7-8 months, like before lockdown obviously, but in the last 7-8 months of our operations, we have also seen that most of the newer venues that we were onboarding were through referrals from the same owners. So the industry has a lot of referral in the space. So one venue owner is going to have connects with multiple venue owners, or they're also going to have stake in other venues, and we can kind of get venues through referrals. Secondly, we have seen that a venue, when we start, let's say if they were selling at a X price point, eventually in due course of time, after a year of time, because of the improved quality and service standards, we are able to increase their pricing in the market. So that same venue which was selling at 600 would be able to sell at maybe 700 in a year's time. So that's where we say that it's an increased perceived value for the venue, and the same venue with just certain basic parameters that in place is kind of able to sell out better in the market. And the third thing is, so when we started, right, it was a good journey to understand what kind of venues would work, which venues should be on board, bigger venues, smaller venues, hotels, restaurants, what kind of venues. So I think over the last 2-3 years, we've kind of built up a very good standard parameters that are to be evaluated for a property to onboard, and which are very clear guidelines as to, you know, these kind of properties would work. So our churn for the properties in the last 1 year and success ratio for the, churn has been very low, and the success ratio of the properties that we've onboarded has kind of, shot up drastically. So these are the three things, which we have seen that is kind of proven, the model is now tested, and that's where we come and we thought that how we can scale it up faster and quicker through the country. And with this, we've come up with the franchisee plan. The idea with the franchisee plan is these franchisee partners would be nobody, not an external partners for us, but they would be very much like our own city heads or area heads for us. So we would want to kind of handhold them in the initial times to get them comfortable with the entire business, and then exactly what we are doing right now in Bombay is what they will be able to do in their area of exclusivity or their city of exclusivity that they take on forward. So I'm just going to run through what exactly do we have for the franchisee partner in terms of what exactly will be his responsibility, what is the take, and what are the commercials gradually. So key benefits, it's a very low initial investment. So I'll tell you, as a business, our major investment was in building the technology and building the platform Book Events, which can actually generate the demand for these venues. And now that we've created this and we have enough traction, and this cost is completely something which the franchisee does not have to bear. For the franchisee, it's pretty much an EBITDA positive business from the very 4th, 5th month, right? So it's a very low initial investment required. Again, like how I was saying, venue owner does not need to bother about marketing and sales. The franchisee owner does not need to bother about marketing and how will he get customers for his venue, because we would be typically minimum able to give at least 100 inquiries, event inquiries per month for a venue that is onboarded. So that worry about, you know, how to get customers and acquisition costs and all of that is not there at all, which is usually the case in most of the businesses that you operate, that, you know, marketing is something that is the last mile goal of the franchisee people, but here you will get the demand from the platform. The third important thing is the entire business, the industry is very huge. It's a $40 billion industry in India, and a franchisee owner, if he kind of succeeds in one area, he has learned the tricks of the trades, and he can actually take exclusivity of more and more areas and increase the number of venues drastically. And the learning period is only going to be the initial 3-4 months for the franchisee, and once that's kind of crossed, there is tremendous amount of growth that the franchisee partner can see. And last, what kind of people would be really a good fit as a franchisee partner? So the ideal role for the franchisee partner is, one, to acquire properties, get them to agree to work on a commercial and under the Book Events brand umbrella. And the second part is then manage these venue managers who are sitting at the venues to just convert whatever demand is generated through the platform into end business, right? So anybody who has a good sales and business development background, who has the capabilities to lead a team, and who has that entrepreneurial drive inside him, is somebody who is going to be a very good fit for this. People with maybe event management background or hospitality background would have maybe a little bit over advantage, add-on advantage over the regular people, but this is something that could be kind of taken over by any sales and business development kind of a background person, right? And we've seen these people. So inside our company, if you have to look at a city head or an area head, these are people typically who are able to run their own part of the business, their area of the business. So we know what exactly are the responsibilities of the franchisee person and how really can he succeed at a yearly level from the very first year. So broadly, what are the responsibilities of Book Events and what are the responsibility of the franchisee? So Book Events is going to be responsible for the online lead generation through the platform. They're going to be responsible for the entire digital marketing of the venues that the franchisee partner is onboarding. We are going to be responsible for corporate demand. So we have a separate in-house corporate team, which kind of generates a lot of demand. Plus we also generate corporate demand through our portal. So there is an access to corporate inquiries that the venue will get. The venue will get technology support, the entire venue management software for a venue, for the franchisee manager to manage multiple venues. Both the technology platforms are going to be provided. There are going to be detailed training modules which are set up for the venue manager to manage and for the manager to kind of review the performance of every venue manager sitting in. And the last is entire branding of offline branding, offline collaterals. All of that is going to be completely designed in standard formats by Book Events. That's what Book Events would take care of, which is broadly technology and marketing completely. The franchisee is going to take care of one, hiring the sales manager for these venues. So once they've hired the sales manager for the venues, the franchisee partner needs to monitor these salespeople and ensure that they are closing the demand that is generated through the platform, while venue owner would take care of the complete operations part. So the key responsibility of the franchisee partner is to convert the demand into sales at each of these venues, and thus generate the revenue. So how would the revenue and the workflow model really work? So franchisee is going to give a fixed monthly fee to the Book Events per venue, while the franchisee is going to earn a percentage of revenue share from the venue owner on a monthly basis. So that percentage is anywhere like an 8 to 10%. So how I said that they will be typically doing a 2 crore kind of annual turnover per venue. Your take per venue would be roughly 8 to 10%, ranging from 16 to 18 lakhs per year. So broad financials for the franchisees is a franchisee fee is an upfront franchisee fee of 7.5 lakhs plus taxes. The revenue potential that a franchisee would see is anywhere like 8 to 10% on the annual booking amount. So they should be minimum able to make like a 1 lakh per month per venue. So a franchisee can typically have like 10 venues is the minimum kind of target that we see in 1 year, but they can have anywhere close to 10 to 15 venues in a year, making monthly net margin of, if there are 10 venues, making net monthly margin of 10 lakh per month from the entire business. And they are going to share out a fixed revenue royalty per month to us. There is no dedicated office that's required for the franchisee partner to take in, because the staff is going to be sitting at the venue. And for the weekly meetings, we would ideally suggest that they would get the meetings to do from one venue to the other, so they can have all their team gather up at one of the venues and do the meeting. So no need of a dedicated office required. The expenses from their side would be in terms of salaries of the managers sitting at the venue and local marketing that is to be done in terms of at the venue branding and collaterals. That is something that their other expenses would be. Average payback time, I would say this 6 to 9 months is including the franchisee fee and the expenses that they would have. They would cover back, and they will basically start making money in the very first year of whatever they have invested, over and above the investment that they have done for the franchisee. And this franchisee term is going to be for a 5-year period. I'll get into more details of how exactly the revenue would flow in per franchisee, what's the kind of expenses in detail. So if you can see here, you would see that there are annual bookings that we typically estimate per venue is around 75 bookings per venue. We would look at anywhere an event would be like a 2 lakh average ticket size for the event. And the other services, so good advantage is that once a customer has booked the venue with you, you can actually sell him all other services, which is, let's say, photography, makeup artist, mehendi artist, band, whole, lighting, event planning, everything, right? So once you're selling all these services, I mean, even if you assume that 40% of the people who have actually booked the venue will go with these services, you will be able to make up another 50,000 of revenue from the other services, which is very much on the lesser side. So overall, so 8.5% is the margin that we've taken average margin per on the venue business, and a 30% margin on the ancillary services. So you will be able to make up roughly 20 to 23,000 per event that you are booking at your venue, right? And even if your sales manager is able to close like 5 events monthly, he is above 1 lakh. So which is like 60 events, and he will be like over his target of 1 lakh minimum thing. So broadly, in a year's time, from a venue, you will get net margins of 17 lakhs. Your expenses on a yearly basis, including the salesperson's salary and his incentives, would be 3,60,000. The royalty that will go to the book events would be another 4,20,000. And some ongoing offline marketing that you have to do is 1,24,000. So eventually, from the 17 lakhs, your expenses for a venue would be somewhere around 9 lakhs, and you will net make 8 lakhs from the venue on an average on a yearly basis. And that's something that you will see as an average in the first 2 years. And this number is only going to increase with the year 3 and 4 to come. So I'll just go a little. So overall, at a master franchisee level, if we consider that in year 1, we've got 10 venues onboarded, this is how your net earnings would look like. And deducting certain central expenses that you have and the franchisee fee that's going to be going in, you're going to make up a net of 67 lakhs in the first year, 75 lakhs in the year 2, and 83 lakhs in the third year. So that's broadly what you're going to be, the potential that you can kind of make, even if you kind of consider that the performance. So what we've considered here in numbers is okay to good performance, but even if you consider it that the numbers go a little lower, you will still be at a very decent number of plus 20-30 lakhs in the very first year. So yeah, so that's broadly in terms of the numbers for at the master franchisee level. You can obviously look at increasing the number of venues from 10 venues to maybe 20 venues is going to be a good number. And once, let's say, if you've understood the business, you've been able to succeed, and let's say I have taken up an area in Ahmedabad, West Ahmedabad as an exclusive area. Maybe now that you have understood the trades, you can always take up one more area and run another exclusivity for this. So I think the potential to grow from 10 venues to roughly around 70 to 80 venues per master franchisee. So that's what we would look at in terms of growth of a master franchisee on an annual in 3 years of time with us. So so like I said, more venues that you can onboard, more territories that you can take, more bookings per venue. So what I think I missed one point. What more happens is that in the year when you onboard, you have to put in a lot of efforts to kind of get business at the venue. But in year two, you will start getting 20% of the business as your referral business. So people who have done events, people who have attended events at your venue would start calling you back for more and more business. So you start generating more demand, which is a set demand and a highly positive kind of demand for your venue in year two and year three. So that's a very good advantage of the to stay in the business for a little longer time. And third most important thing is that eventually, if you build more capabilities on the ancillary services, like we have hired now in-house photographers. So let's say you would typically charge up 80,000 to 1 lakh for a wedding photo shoot. If for an entire photography package, if you hire those people, eventually after a certain point in time, you can anywhere make like a 70 to 80% margin on the ancillary services as well. So if the franchisee partner builds up enough capabilities on the ancillary services, there is a huge potential to kind of get more revenues from the same customer, because the biggest thing is venue is the first thing that a customer kind of books when he is thinking of an event. So everything else kind of comes up later. So when you are actually meeting the customer for the first time, you are meeting a customer who is yet to kind of think on all the other services. And if you kind of pitch in those services at that point in time, the chances that the customer is going to be converting with you is pretty high. So yeah, so more ancillary services will kind of drive more revenue. And this also we would typically suggest that the focus on this should come from year two more. The first focus should be to kind of understand the venue business in detail, drive more business at the venue. And once you drive more business, then try and optimize more on the upsell and cross-sell opportunities. So yeah, so key business enablers. So while now we've seen that what exactly is book events, what is the book events flagship venue, we would want to say that what are the business enablers that are going to help you. So in terms of technology, the lead generation platform that we have, so for every venue that we onboard, we do like a 360-degree view, a video, detailed description, on our website, giving the customer a very good real picture of the venue and giving them that confidence to kind of shortlist the venue and visit that venue for once to check for his event. So the website has been built. One of the best parameters of the website, it has a huge conversion percentage. So one of the best in the industry. Almost 18 to 20% people who visit our website actually convert into an inquiry for an event. So it's a very high intent audience that
we cannot hear you.
Is it audible now?
Yeah, it's audible. Yeah.
Okay. Were you able to hear me on the technology bit?
Little bit, and I think we lost it in between. That's it.
Okay. So just quickly kind of saying, so on the technology, the platform, the key benefits of the platform are that the conversion, it's a high intent audience which comes onto the website, because these are all people who are looking for an event. And that's where we have one of the best industry conversion percentage, which is 18 to 20% of the people who come on our website actually place up an inquiry on the website. So this is something that we've also done from a product optimization perspective, and that's where the and also the kind of traffic that is coming on the website. The second thing is the venue management software. So this is how a software for a venue manager sitting at the venue would look like. The first thing that you see, he has a real-time calendar where he can see what are the bookings that he has in future, which are the dates that he has free. He can put up a tentative booking. He could do a waiting booking, and he can kind of see that, okay, maybe my next month all these dates are free, so let me kind of push these dates for whatever inquiries I have for these dates. So we have a price heat map where we say that these are the peak dates. So those peak dates or mounted dates are typically sold on a higher price versus the normal days. There are lull seasons, so there is a dynamic pricing that the venue manager can actually do basis the demand that he sees for a particular day. The second screen that you see is typically the inquiry management CRM that is there on the same platform, where every inquiry that would come from the platform or any other source, say it Just Dial or walk-in customer, every inquiry is kind of fed into this. And what date it is for, is the customer coming for a visit, follow-ups to it, all that data is kind of put up here, and there are very less chances that a venue manager will miss following up on any customer. So that's on this thing. Plus the third screen is the venue, how the venue is visible on our website. And the fourth screen that you see is typically the reports for the manager. So the reports that the manager can see, that how many calls has the venue manager done in a day, what is the kind of time reikis that he has set up at the venue, what is the kind of pipeline that he has, how many closures he has done, and all that performance. So that tracking of performance is what we will expect the franchisee manager partner to do it. And inquiry management and calendar management is something that the venue manager will do at the venue. So in terms of marketing, by Book Events, so we do like a 360-degree marketing from digital to offline to strategic alliances. We have like a complete set of marketing built in place. So our website has a huge traffic. It gets 6 lakh, 3 to 4 lakhs of customers every month on our website. We get around 25,000 event inquiries across India on our platform. So we do a lot of, over the years, we've also built up a lot of database with dates, birth dates of kids, birth dates of people, anniversaries and all of that. So we can do a lot of remarketing through emails and social media to the same customers for repeat events. We're kind of a partner network of travel agents and event planners who are also our customers to book at these venues. Corporate clients, getting the access to a 500 plus corporates, which are our regular key accounts, is something that we could kind of extend to each and every venue. And marketing, offline marketing at flagship venues. So most important thing, we've also seen that once we do our branding at the venue, we would typically see an increase in walk-ins from after the branding is done, because the way the branding is done, it comes more into highlight. It looks more premium, better, and you will be able to kind of drive more customers to walk in and ask for inquiry. So that's from our marketing perspective. Briefly, some corporates which are working with us, and our special offerings to the customer is primarily, we also have a dashboard for the customers to track event inquiries and responses. We have special offers for the corporate in terms of repeat contracts that they do. So not only just venue, we help them with other ancillary offers with partner brands. And most important thing for the corporate becomes that we become the one single point for payment and invoicing. So their entire payments for all the venues could happen through one vendor, and they would get proper GST invoices which they can take claim of, because otherwise banqueting is somewhere where they really can't take a claim of the GST credit, but with our invoicing they can kind of take that GST benefit as well. So these are the benefits for the corporate, and that's where a lot of corporates have been repeatedly working with us, and all the bigger corporates. When I say corporate, it's not only just the MNCs, but it's also a lot of associations like Lions Club, BNI, Rotary Club, which would typically be doing repeat events every week. It is also a lot of training institutes, examinations that are conducted, which are also something that our corporate team looks into. So yeah, just so very quick. So we do internal branding at the venue with proper messaging, creating that trust and confidence in the customer again and again. And I think the external branding is something that you've seen. So the way for a banquet industry, it's very important how people coming, guests coming at the banquet would perceive the banquet to be, and that's something that comes through the branding that we do. So summarizing it for everybody's benefit, I think why we would say that it's a very good opportunity for you to partner with us is one, we have a good credibility and a tested and a growth phase model that we have kind of tried and in one of the biggest city in India. So it's something that we have kind of succeeded and built up proper parameters for our franchisee partners to succeed. We have over the years kind of built up a good captive demand on our platform and corporate demand, which would kind of help the biggest hurdle in starting any business, which is how to get demand. So that hurdle is not there in this business. There's a huge potential to increase the margin. So what we are standing today at around 8 to 9% of margin that we take up on the venue business, there's a huge potential to increase this margin percentage to anywhere like a 15 to 20 percentage by getting deeper into it. So that's from a brand perspective, but overall looking at the opportunity, the industry, event industry is a huge industry. Getting people to work with you in event space is pretty easy as venue managers. And the kind of potential that we'll see in years to come is only grow with more and more weddings and corporate events happening in place. And broadly as a franchisee, it's a very low investment kind of a model where we're just looking at upfront franchisee fee and a fixed royalty per month, but the kind of potential upside of the growth at every venue and cross-sell and upsell opportunity, the benefit of that is going to be completely with the franchisee partner. So the number, what we're talking on today is something is a base number, and that number, if you stick for us with the same model for a 3 to 5 years time frame, is only going to increase 2 to 3 folds in 3 to 4 years time. So yeah, so that's briefly from my side. I think I'll leave it open for questions and any doubts on the model, on the on what roles and responsibility of the franchisee partner. I think I'll leave it open to first to Mr. Gaurav to kind of help aid this from a franchisee perspective, how it is going to be beneficial for the franchisee partner.
Thank you. Extremely good presentation, very, very elaborate. And I think you touched upon almost all aspects, which is good because, sometimes we have the presentations where somebody would not go into depth of the business model, the support provided, technology, marketing, and so on and so forth. So, and also you rightly said that you're a credible team, very well funded, supported, and backed by credible funds. And also what is very important that you've done a proof of concept in the most difficult market for banqueting in the country, because the banquets are in Bombay, one rare to get. And so most of the time they're already optimized because the real estate is very expensive. And I think so making it successful in Bombay sets a path that you can be successful any part of the world, not only in any. I think Bombay is one of the most difficult banquet markets, because at Franchise India also we have been dealing with a lot of events and capabilities. We understood that the market, Mumbai, you don't have to really sell. If you have a good real estate, it just sells by itself. So getting an acquisition of that shows that clearly there was a gap in the market. So two things between both the founders, they actually have found as an opportunity. And I would start with what I call the problem solving. On one side, they were solving the problem of these venue owners or banquet owners. And if you really want to divide that, I would divide these banquets into 3 parts. And there are 3 types of banquets available or venues available. So to say, banquet is just in common, I think, but any kind of a community center or things of that nature. One are what I call the destination venues. These don't need help because most of the times everybody goes them. They are brand in their own right, so everybody wants to hold their functions there to show that, look, I'm holding in that. So these are not really looking at help. They're most of the times adequately optimized, would have their direct teams because they're optimized, so they can afford marketing, they can afford their direct teams and so on. So typically, it can be the 5-star hotels, it can be a lot of structured big time venues and so on. So these are what I call the A set category, which are more destination venues. By statistics, it still says optimization. While they optimize, which means that they're doing well, they still would be doing it at 30 to 40% of their what they can do. As Siti said, that there are 2 events you can do that. Most of the times would either do 1 event and only optimize about 80, 85, 90 days in a year. That's what I'm talking about, the destination ones. This would only contribute about 10 to 15% of the venue space in the country. Then there are specialty ones. Specialty what are known for something. And it either can be religiously known for that. It can be Jain Bhavan, it can be Agarwal Bhavan, it can be something else and something else. And these are very specialty driven. These are optimized by 20 to 30% because normally would be linked to a certain community and community who use it. A lot of business venues have also been created by chambers and other places. A lot of community centers are created by a lot of different venues and municipal corporations, which they don't really have understanding. And they are private operators who are running in. They badly operate it because they don't have capabilities to run and operate. And the third, which I think they really saw an opportunity, whatever private initiatives, and these are community banquets and community venues, which are as low as 10% or low in terms of their optimization. Now, when you have a 10% and low, what your problem is that you don't have make enough money to even sustain the venue. So which means that the upkeep of the venues are not great. They have no money left for marketing. They have relatively no staff, which is dedicatedly available to avail with that. So the problem actually creates even a bigger multiplier and do that. Because the investor has invested into that venue, he will just try to sustain it. They don't have even adequate price point management. So they would sell at different price points looking at, and I think the season is on, he'll get some good bookings, but non-season, they would sell it out at any price. They don't have to really do that. So this was a big problem they really saw. On the other side, from a end user viewpoint, the 3 things which I was able to gather, and they can add more on that. One was the discovery, finding out who's the right venue, what are the venue options available. Discovery was one problem. Second was, as an end user, you wanted options. You want to really see what would fit in, which place I would get more parking, which place I can have entire thing. Is there a place where I can have some additional events also been done? Is there open area, non-open area? A lot of other things you need as an option when you plan your entire thing. So that was another thing. And third was integrated solutions. You don't want to just get to somebody who says, look, I do only do this one, go to this guy, do entire thing. You don't have a trustworthy service provider who can handle your entire thing. So this was a really big problem area which they found. And then they started working on creating the business model. And today they are a leading operator. So let me start with the first question, and either of you can answer. What is the landscape looks like? I mean, there is no doubt there is a $40 billion, $50 billion market, largely fragmented, while there are 1 or 2 companies who have come from aggregation viewpoint, again from a technology and a little bit on a management. But how big is the market looking like to be aggregated? How much has been aggregated so far? And how big is that aggregation possibly available still going forward? What is the landscape look like?
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gaurav and the Franchising India team for giving us the opportunity. So I think Shruti has, as you rightly said, Shruti has touched upon most of the points. So in terms of landscape, right? So we did some kind of a bottom-up approach in terms of calculating the potential of the market, right? So we took an example of Bombay. So Bombay, it's about, you have 3,000 odd venues. As you rightly said, about from those 3,000 venues, there will be top A category, which will be not our immediate target segment. So there are about 1,700 to probably 1,800 venues which are there, which is our target segment. And 17 to 1,800 on an average, they do about 2 crore of business. Uh, if you take in 10% of our revenue, which is about 20 lakhs, right? So 20 lakhs into 1700, it's about probably 3,300 crores, 340 crores. So 340 crores in Bombay. If you do it for Pan India, normally what brand takes about 10 to 15 times Bombay. That's about 3,400 crores of our gross margin. About 3,400 crores are gross margin, which is what we are looking at. So overall, if you look at 34,000 crores, which is about say say with the current exchange rate, about $4 to $5 billion market is the true our target segment, immediate target segment is what the venue space is. Um, Apart from that, the ancillary space, right, which probably it's just starting to show potential in our current business also. The reason which Shruti pointed out that we are the first touch point for a customer whenever they start looking out for a venue, and if we are able to solve that problem, we build that trust with the customers, and we are able to sell other services also. On an average, the total ticket size of that is about 25 to 30%. So which is again, if you add that 25 to 30%, where the margin is about 30%. So in all, we add that revenue to the overall scheme of things, which will give us uh, probably another
Equal opportunity, like around
equal opportunity, right? So overall, we feel that $10 billion is the market which we can cater. And I looked at one of the questions, right? What will be our rollout plans? So if I were to say answer that question, probably rollout plans, we are kind of geography agnostic right now because we have built that model. We are getting leads for all the cities, tier 2, tier 3 cities, right? We are getting leads even for Guwahati, northeast areas also. So we are getting leads across country. So having said that, there'll be more leads in metro, tier 1 cities. But overall, the online penetration, thanks to Jio and other networks, the online penetration has increased, and we're getting leads across, right? So from a rollout plan point of view, if we are more dependent on the franchisee partner, right? So if he has that passion, he has that enthusiasm in this industry, and he feels that he can build that team. So we can roll out for any cities.
Sure. Sure. Very, very important. It's about $10 billion market, largely fragmented, especially when you go beyond Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore and likes of them, and you go to smaller cities, you go to Ranchi and you go to Bhubaneswar, you even go to Calcutta, Guwahati, other places. It's a very, very fragmented market. The kind of condition of these banquets are not good because they are not well managed, because they're not optimized. It's not about that they're wrong venues, because they're not doing enough. So there is never left much money to really upkeep the venues. So this also is a real answer that if the cash flows really start doing it, what they're doing is that they're sweating out these venues more. If you sweat out these venues more, and last 15 years, if you really see, the wealth creation has come in the businesses which are able to sweat out assets. Any asset you want to sweat out more, you make more wealth. Like look at the cars. You used to have conventional cab drivers who used to pay higher in the airport. Go to a meeting, they would keep sitting there for 7 hours, 8 hours, not doing anything, and you end up paying the same money. But now you pay, actually, as a customer, pay less, but the car is actually done 8 trips in that period, right? Because of Ola and Uber. So they're sweating out assets more. So technology has given that advantage today. How are we really able to sweat out the assets? And that's where the money really comes in. And this is where they have created an answer. Now let's go on a financial model, because I think we had a long presentation. We already had one, so I will take only one question and then quickly bring in Sonia. It's going to take up a lot of questions which are coming from the audience. Let's go on a financial model, because while you explained the entire thing, but I would like to revisit the financial model. There is a franchise fees of 7.5 lakh rupees. You don't have to put an office. So there is relatively not so much of fixed OPEX. Everything goes on a variable. You have to hire a venue managers which would work and stay at the venue. And this either of you can answer. And when you start, while you said that best optimization is coming when you have 10 venues, but it takes your life cycle to do that. So what do we expect in the Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4? That's one. And give me a one microeconomics of one venue economics. One venue economics, say 10,000 square feet venue you take, and what kind of economics you can run on that and how you can do that, because you have experience. You are managing 60 and doing it. And also give me a risk side. Every business, there is no business which comes without risk. So is there a venue? You might out of 60, you might have also picked up some wrong venue, which other way around have gone in. Now you have difficulty to manage because nobody comes there because you never knew that it was jinxed. And everybody said it is a jinxed venue and nobody wants to book that, right? So there might be another. You never know, so it's a community venue. So that's that. How do you really avoid any such things, How do you really be very, very careful? Because the first 3 or 4 are very important for a franchisee to build cash flows, right? I always say that if you get the first or 2 or 3 venues right and your cash flows are right, you never go wrong. You never can go wrong in this business because you're backed by technology, you're backed by a performing brand. Now you are in the market. If you get a right venue and do this. Now the difficulty is that we don't have the A listers coming to us. We obviously go on a B and C listers, and it's a very careful planning who you want to pick, who you don't want to pick, right? So that's also very important because it's when you do work with B and C, it's all about the selection. So over to you if you want to answer this part of the question.
So I'll first tell in terms of, I think, the venues that we have to select. I think we have made. So I'll tell you in the first year we would have onboarded like 40 venues, and we would have retained only 20 of them. But in the last 6 months, if I have to say, we would have onboarded 40 venues and we would have retained 37 or 38 of them. So that's the kind of ratio that learning has gone into it. So an ideal venue for us is typically a venue which can hold like 300 to 400 people minimum. We don't take very small venues because then you can't really have weddings. So we will not take a 200 people venue because then you can't really have weddings. You will be limited to only social functions. So we will take a venue which is at least 400 people capacity. We would prefer a venue which is even bigger and has a partition. So if a 400 people venue has a partition facility in it, then it helps us because then we can cater to a 100 people event also, and we can cater to a 500, 600 people event also. So that kind of gives us a diversity. And there are seasons when there are smaller businesses, which are like the off-peak season when weddings don't happen. So having that kind of covered business that you can get through birthdays and anniversaries and all of that. So one is that. Second, we look at that the kind of venue owner, his flexibility to listen is very important. So we've taken some very brilliant venues, which were like ideal from every perspective, but we've not been able to work there because the owner were rigid on their terms. So let's say, so there was a venue, I'll give you a classic example in Bombay, which used to do only 5 or 6 events in a year. But he was selling at like 1700, 1800 rupees per person. And we were telling him that this is not the price point you can sell at because the competition is not like that. And your perceived value of the property is not like that. But he was rigid on it. So we could kind of not, even though we had a lot of customers who came and saw the property, didn't really do much about it. So I think the kind of venue owner that we choose, his flexibility and his openness to ideas is something that we look at in the meeting with the venue venue owner. The third thing that we look at is the basic parameters. So let's say the entrance of the venue or the interiors of the venue are decently good, and with bare minimum efforts of very small little things, the standards could be brought up. So there is no work that is required on the interiors to be done, but maybe you can provide good toiletries in the washroom, do proper signages, proper branding, and just create and upgrade the value of the property. Having catering staff wear proper uniform, that kind of adds up. The kind of crockery you use. So with a very minimal expense, but you can bring up the quality and the performance of the property. So these are two things. We have seen properties in very old industrial buildings in Bombay, taken newer properties, but very good interiors, and we have been able to kind of generate good business for them. So I think the comfort of the venue owner, flexibility is very helpful. Coming back onto the financial part, like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, I think Harsh, you would want to answer that. Okay, so I'll tell you broadly. The first quarter and the second quarter is when they will have to kind of invest in money from their side. Our revenue is linked to the bookings, so it's not seasonal for us. So bookings are round the year, apart from leaving that 15 days of Shraddh when there is a little off-peak season. But across the year, we would have bookings. So let's say we are doing bookings for November, December now. That revenue comes to us on day one. So our revenue is not really seasonal. The focus of the franchisee partner should be typically that by the 5th month, he should be able to reach 85,000 to 1 lakh of revenue from the property. And that is something which he will get from 5 bookings a month. So that's what we look at in terms of target. I think that.
So,
and what would be the, one venue throughput in terms of the overall sales cycle?
So मैं आपको वो बता रहा हूँ. So, for example, we normally whenever we choose a venue, right, we look at that from there we should get 1 lakh of gross margin on a monthly basis, right? So 1 lakh. So suppose if a venue, say a normal tier, B category venue, right, average per person package would be say 600, 700 rupees, right? We are getting about 50 to 60 rupees. So we choose a venue. If we say that we are getting 50 to 60 rupees per person per venue, can we book 2,000 people in a month? Say whether it may be 10 bookings of 100 people or say 4 or 5 bookings of 500 people, right? So if we are able to do 2,000 people booking, industry average or industry, when you look at the size of a banquet, they normally look at, they can place one person in per 10 square feet the area. So if you look at say 10,000 square feet the area, normally he can host about 1,000 people. That's his maximum floating capacity. In wedding, you normally speak about a floating capacity because people keeps on coming and going. They are not, all the people are there at that time. So 1,000 people into say 50 rupees, for example, that's the best case, right? You get 50,000. On an average, we see about 5 to 6 bookings per venue. We are getting about 15 to 20,000 margin, and you make 1 lakh ka revenue. Bottom line is if you are able to make 1 lakh of revenue, and that now when we are choosing a venue, we look at the number of leads, the kind of leads we are getting in each area. So based on that, we predict that how many bookings we can do. We also do competitor analysis of other venues in that area. So we look at whether the price point of this venue is good vis-a-vis other venues. So overall, we look at, that's the base number, that's the number we look at, 1 lakh per venue. It's a gross margin from the venue business. Ancillary is on top of that.
So just one thing, so 1 lakh of revenue, his expense to us, so I think a lot of questions also that I saw, 1 lakh of revenue, which is a base revenue that he'll make, his expense over that will be like a 30,000 for the venue manager's salary and a 35,000 for the royalty of book events. So 65,000 is what his expense is. He is going to make up the remaining 35,000 on it.
Yeah.
So that's his net per venue that he will make. And this is on a like a minimum case scenario. Like 1 lakh is the minimum revenue. We'll expect a venue to do at least 1.5 lakh a revenue and add on other services revenue. So that margin is completely with the franchisee partner.
Sure.
Back of the envelope calculation.
Sure, that's helpful. So it's a pack based. So what they're doing is 50 rupees per pack kind of a calculation.
Yeah.
Pune, over to you. I think there are a lot of questions in the audience which needs to be answered.
Right, I'll take very quickly, Shruti and Harsh, some questions. While I see many of them, have been answered, but I'll stick on the venue. And you did talk about 400 as the minimum capacity. Now, my question is, because we don't have too many weddings happening every day, and these are seasonal months, so to say. So, what ideally should be a mix of venue? Because not everybody is getting married every day. There are many other functions, corporates bhi hain. So, if you look at only one kind of venue, say 400, then maybe I will let go the other business, which comes on a real-time basis. It could be trainings, it could be corporate parties. So what is the ideal mix of events ideally you suggest? So 400 obviously we understand is for a larger gathering, but what ideally should be a mix of venues?
Yeah, so ideally our mix would be, while I said we take a 400 people kind of venue, I said that we would prefer a venue which has partitions. So when a venue has a partition, the same hall could be used for a 200 people event also. There are some venues with 3 partitions also. So we could do 100 people events as well, right? There are venues which will have a bigger hall and a smaller hall together. So our base that we would take, minimum capacity of a venue that we would take is like a 250 people capacity, but then they will have multiple halls in the same premise. So these are typically hotel properties that we would take. We would take certain 4-star, 3-star hotel properties. We would take certain lounges, because lounges are very good for casual cocktail parties, adult parties and all of that. So we will take certain lounges, and 70-80% of the chunk is going to be banquets. And the banquets, we would typically prefer, our average would be 400 people. There are banquets which have capacity, I think 400 is on the lower side, our average is that, but we'll have banquets of 1,000 people capacity also, because that's the major chunk of weddings that are happening. So those 1,000 people banquets, usually compulsorily, even if they don't have, we ask them to do a partition so that we can kind of cater to the event.
Okay, another question which I want to pick up again is on the locations. But I think Harsh did mention that you are location agnostic and you're looking all across. But still, if I'm interested in, say, Delhi, am I given the entire territory in 7.5 lakhs? Or is Delhi also divided? Because Delhi would also have certain clusters where, maybe a South Delhi, the entire hotel cluster is around maybe the airport, or maybe Chhatarpur, so to say. So how are these clusters divided for maybe a bigger city like Delhi? While small cities, we can understand, I don't know if we are offering exclusivity in smaller cities.
So the idea how we have divided clusters is typically that in a cluster, there's potential to acquire up to 20 properties, right?
Okay.
So it completely depends, like in Delhi, like if you have to say Chhatarpur is such a big area that only Chhatarpur could be a cluster, because that's like a main hub zone where there are 50 banquets in a single place, right? So we would take up the clusters are in such a way that there would be 80 to 90 banquets in that cluster, and the franchisee partner will have a potential to onboard at least 15 to 20 properties in that cluster.
And what happens in case of a smaller city, say Guwahati? Is that exclusive to one partner, or even a city like Guwahati will have multiple partners?
So it completely depends on the number of, and like I said, that every cluster that is given exclusivity of would typically have 80 to 100 banquets in that cluster.
Okay.
So if
right.
So depending on that, it would be divided.
Okay, now another thing which I want to also pick, because most of these venues, obviously we don't have the A listers with us, and we go to the B and NC venues. Are we having any exclusivity with these venues, or these are not exclusive venues with
all the venues would be 100% exclusive to us. So irrespective of the walk-in customers or the customers through our portal, the entire sales and marketing is going to be taken care of by the franchisee partners.
These venues cannot take any bookings from outside directly, right? Okay, now in this case, is there a minimum guarantee also offered by Book Events? For example, I come and say, give me exclusivity. So is there some minimum guarantee these venues expect to be given for reasons they don't expect anything from outside and we're not able to bring in the business?
So typically, I mean, over the years in Bombay, we have been kind of able to get that comfort in the venue owners to not give any kind of minimum guarantee. But even in case of minimum guarantee, we have structured the minimum guarantee in such a fashion that it is whatever the setback is only on the commission percentage getting changed. So let's say if a banquet is very good, So we will only do this minimum guarantee for a very well running A category kind of banquet, right? But for any BC category banquets, we will not do a minimum guarantee. We can tell them to do like a 3 months pilot, and if they're not satisfied, they can, move back from us. But eventually, you have to also understand that we are saving venue owners cost of marketing, the money that he will pay to Just Dial and other platforms to generate leads, the cost of his salesperson and managing that salesperson to convert that business. We're saving that for him in this duration. So we will not give any minimum guarantee because the venue owner is also seeing an investment from our side happening on his venue. Sure. But if at all required to onboard certain A category properties, then we'll do a percentage change. So let's say if you are doing a 2 crore of business and we do 2 crore, we will take maybe 5% commission. But if we do 2.5 crores, we are going to take 10% commission.
Okay. All right. Great. Now, quickly, 2-3 questions more I'll take up, before we can wind up. One, I want to understand, is there some kind of registration that you charge a vendor to bring on the website?
No.
It's on the website. So is the fee charged from the vendors?
No. So we're not charging any fee to the vendor to list on our platform. But to get any inquiries from us, he has to take up a paid subscription fee package.
And how much is that? And that would differ across?
That kind of varies depending on the region, but it would be anywhere like 30,000 to 60,000.
Annual?
No, for a 6 months period.
Okay, and the franchisee also gets a percentage of that as a revenue source.
So that's a different business. So for franchisee, what we are talking about is the flagship model, which is the venue model, wherein we put in the salespeople and we do the bookings. Subscription is, we have started recently, and that's a different vertical altogether.
Right, but why I'm coming out with this is because, if I manage Delhi or some regions, obviously I will also reach out to local vendors who would become a part, of servicing that particular function. And in turn, they would be also listed on the website and they could also take subscription services. So you don't foresee any kind of correlation between the two, and the franchisee would not get benefit if such subscription services are availed on the platform?
You're talking about the vendor, not the venue, right?
Vendors, yes.
So vendors, we can look at, sharing mechanism. So,
all right.
So we are open for that.
Okay. Now, another thing which I wanted to understand, you talked about a 50,000 rupees launch per launch. What is that 50,000 rupees per launch is something I wanted to understand. And also what kind of branding, I saw one of our viewers questioning about the branding also. What kind of branding is required? And, if you can a little bit elaborate on that.
So I think in the initial video, we would have seen that how we do the external branding of the board, but maybe I'll just... Okay, so I think I'll share the initial video had the branding image. I will share that up. Maybe we can play that once again for people, and people can kind of see how the entire branding happens in the venue, outside the venue, to get that idea. In terms of so I think this 50,000 is primarily for the branding at the venue, setting up initial collateral. So there are a lot of collateral. So when you go to a 5-star hotel or proper, you'll get like a brochure, you will get a proper package form, you will get a booking kit and all of that, right? So we've kind of developed all of those collaterals, and all those collaterals need to be built up in the initial time when you launch to be kept at the venue. So that's something that
So I think pictures would be helpful because one of our viewers, in fact, wanted to see, before and after. Another important question which I want to pick up, because you have a fixed royalty structure, irrespective of the sale, there's a minimum 35,000 which comes to you. And now considering these times where even weddings, we don't have 400 people coming in. And while you showed a gestation of 6 to 9 months, which ideally, in the regular times, it would take that kind of maybe an ROI. But what do you have to talk about these times when obviously the gathering is not that large? And second, because the business does not start coming from the very first month. So these royalties would start happening from the first month, or is there some kind of, I would say, relief you're giving to the franchisee?
So I think that's something that we would kind of wait to see the taxes. So but by the time the franchisee would start, so even in our business now that we've started business, so we started our venues in Bombay back from September 1st. And we've seen that in a normal scenario, we would get 6 bookings in a month. And we are now getting 4 bookings. So in average, we've done 4 bookings per venue in September. So we've seen that the number of bookings has almost come to a 70% mark. And the average number of people that used to be maybe 400 or 500 for us would be right now 100, 150. So I think that also we are expecting to kind of go up by November, December. And usually when we take the venue, the bookings are all for future, right? So the revenue will start from day one, which is going to be for future. So let's say the franchisee partner is onboarded in November and he's starting his venues from December, right? He's not going to be booking for December or January. He's going to be booking for March and months to come. So by that time, we ideally feel that this is a very good time to kind of get into the market as franchisee because the venues are all have lost their business and they desperately need business. So the acquisition will become super easy, and the negotiation, like we have also renegotiated our commercial terms with venues in Bombay. So I know that the franchisee partners will be able to do good negotiation on that front. If the business does not continue to be normal by that time, then we would look at certain relaxation. But right now, seeing our internal numbers, we feel that by the time the franchisee venue will start, they are going to be booking for March, and primarily that is going to be pretty much back to normal.
Great, Shruti. I think while we have reached the end of our session, just one last question.
Yeah.
One is on, because I saw on your website you have Delhi, Bombay, and many locations in India where the venues are listed on the website. What happens when you get a partner in that city? All these venues which are currently on the website, does they all these would they come under the franchisee one? And second, maybe along with that, because you currently have 350 plus locations, Bombay alone, is Bombay a city where you're looking at partners to be appointed? So these two, if you can take quickly.
Okay. So Bombay, no, we're not looking at partners because we're kind of doing it ourselves and we are there in almost every region. So we can't really look at a partner. Let's say Delhi, South Delhi is one cluster that a franchisee gets, right? Now, South Delhi, whatever banquets are listed on our platform, whatever inquiries are generated on the platform for those banquets, everything is going to be passed to this particular franchisee partner. So he would have access to the complete demand. He will also have access to his venue manager's numbers being displayed on our platform. So that would also generate certain direct calls to the venue manager. And everywhere that we do, so we do a lot of digital marketing for each venue also, and that is also going to be marketed for them. So it's going to be their number. So be it a Google listing of the venue or a just that listing, everywhere the venue manager of the franchisee partner's number would be kind of broadcasted.
Sure. And peak seasons, because you only talked about one manager per franchisee, right? But in peak season, there are many events happening at the same time. So what happens those times? So we get some freelancers who are trained because one person cannot be at various locations. And also you showed 10 people, as in 10 venues and one manager. So if there are more venues, you see that, percentage or ratio increasing. So which means on every 10, there has to be one manager, additional 10 is another manager.
So I would ideally say it completely depends on the capabilities of the franchisee partner. How big a team can he handle and what is the kind of time that he's investing in managing the team. So ideally a person can look at anywhere like a 15 venues by one person if he's kind of dedicating his entire time. Some people can look at 20 also, some people can look at 10 also. So that's something that we would leave on to him on how well he can manage and how many venues that he can manage. Also, eventually, like what we have done is, let's say 5 venues, we have kind of promoted one venue manager from a venue to kind of mentor a newer venue nearby. So that mentoring kind of happens locally with the venue manager. So that's a shared responsibility kind of thing that a senior venue manager will eventually get. So that kind of frees up the franchisee partner's bandwidth also.
And sorry, one point which you mentioned about placing a freelancer for many events during the season, right? So mostly all the operations is handled by the venue owner. So the venue salesperson looks at the booking part, looks at in terms of coordinating before the event, that everything is, kind of set, everything is what was committed to the client is being delivered. Apart from that, the operations part is not looked by the venue salesperson. So even if you have like 2 events going on simultaneously in a venue, I don't think there should be a problem for a venue manager to coordinate both these events. Secondly, we mentioned about the ancillary services, where we are, giving other vendors, other services to the client. So there, if required, if for a venue you have like 5, 6 services to a customer, he would want one dedicated coordinator. So there, we can look at the freelancer. And yeah.
Great, Harsh and Shriti. We still have questions coming up. We can't take
I think
many.
I will just quickly, so there are some short questions which I can quickly answer.
Okay.
I think one is, do we have one person in one region? Yes, the region that is given to a franchisee is completely exclusive, so it would not be given to anybody else.
So I can give you an example, short example. Delhi is split into 6 regions: south, north, east, west, Noida, and Gurgaon. So to give you a sense in terms of the region-wise split.
Okay. Second, I think royalty part. Royalty part we have explained 35,000 is for a category B venue. It would be lesser, like 25,000 for a smaller venue, and it would be more like a 45-50,000 for a bigger venue. So the royalty is decided basis the category of venue it is in. Third, I think I see that for branding, I would say if you could just play the video once again, people will get an idea. I think somebody has asked that how different is the model different from Oyo's wedding. I think Oyo weddings is also doing something similar, but the advantage that we have over them is we have a approach of not just wedding and all events. So we have in Bombay, we have seen that we have acquired a lot of properties which were primarily weddings property and now art, because weddings, this focus is major in weddings, which any which ways is a business that venue owners get by themselves. So the benefit of us coming into picture is to give business in off-peak season, which is the corporate business or the social business. So that is the kind of advantage that we bring in. I think average size of venues 300 and 400 packs. Yes. How many cluster will be in Kolkata? I would say it is primarily dependent on number of venues in a cluster, but broadly a bigger city would be divided into 5 to 6 cluster, smaller cities into 2 to 3 clusters. That's broadly the kind of split, and you would have potential to get at least 20 venues in the cluster that you have kind of got exclusivity for. So that's what we're looking at. I think I've kind of answered broadly all questions.
So I think we have, and I see some of them want to also connect 101, and maybe we can do that in this coming week based on maybe one of the days your availability is.
Okay.
Could be maybe coming Thursday, today being a Wednesday, maybe next week, Wednesday or Thursday, any of these 2 days, if they are suitable, maybe we can filter all the inquiries and set up a call with you.
Sure,
is that okay? Any date between Wednesday or Thursday that you want to fix between the two?
I think we can fix it for Wednesday.
Okay, all right. Great. Okay, so Wednesday is the 7th of October. We fix that as a discovery day.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shriti and Harsh. And before we leave, maybe a final word from you to all the audience listening to you here and also on the Facebook Live.
Okay. So I think thanks everybody for once watching the entire presentation and knowing more about our business. I would be happy to answer any of the queries you have. The good thing is we've been entrepreneurs ourselves, and we are now looking to partner with more entrepreneurs like us. So I think we would look forward to having more conversations with you and maybe hand-holding you in the initial times. But the tough times to see in an entrepreneurial venture is something that we've already gone through and kind of passed. So I think for you, it's going to be now good to take on from here with a lot of hurdles already kind of faced by us, which we have already resolutions to. And we know what to do and what not to. So I think good time to do. and this is going to be like a proper venture. So if you're looking at it as a part-time thing, no, this is not the kind of opportunity for you. It's something that you have to look at with full heart and soul, and you're going to be able to get the real potential out of it. So yeah, so I think that's from my side. Happy to answer more queries for all of you on the discovery day. And I think that's it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. No entrepreneur has it easy. Every entrepreneur has to go through the grid. So the only thing you can do is tell the new entrepreneurs that what not to do, which can make it. But they have to still do it. They have to pass their own grid. Everybody has to, right? Which is the fun of the business, right?
Yeah.
Harsh, anything from your side?
No, I think Shruti has summarized everything. So we have the playbook ready now. We need growth partners for the business to grow and for them to grow. It's a good opportunity if you want to start a bigger business in future, right? So managing a team, starting something of your own has its own fun, right? You are the owner of that business. You can do a lot of things. We are very flexible in terms of getting good inputs, good feedback. We learn along the way. So we collectively learn and grow. So that's our mantra team. So we look forward to probably interacting with you guys soon.
Look forward. Look forward.
Thank you so much, Shruti and Harsh. And we really look forward to working on this. And maybe congratulations to whatever you build in short span of time. Now, with this, I'd like to maybe give back to Archana for her closing remarks. Over to you, Archana.
Thank you so much, Shruti. Thank you so much, Harsh, for joining us today and presenting your business idea to all of us. Thank you so much, all the participants who have joined us today. Thank you, Gaurav sir and Sonia ma'am, for sparing time and talking digitally to all the investors. It's a request to all the investors. Please connect with us at our business hotline number, which is 97176-83838. That's the number where we invite and welcome all your suggestions, your recommendations, your feedback, and your queries. We at Franchise India team, along with our entire sales team, would be happy to help you. You can also connect with the management team of Franchise India at their respective LinkedIn ID. That's the information on your screen. Do share all the suggestions at the hotline number as well as at or the LinkedIn number. We invite you tomorrow for 130th episode of Business Opportunity with Chai series, where we are inviting team of Nepro Plus, and tomorrow they are coming and talking how they become India's well-established and reputed operators of dialysis centers and training academy. The team is coming, interacting with you, showcasing their business model so that you can get your business dream from us. So do join us tomorrow sharp at 12 p.m. Do registration today at the same business hotline number. You can receive a registration link from our side. Confirmation mail can be sent to you post you do the registration. So thank you so much once again for joining us today. Look forward to have you tomorrow for this great event. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great day. Bye.